In this lesson, we're going to be talking about executable types. And specifically, we're going to be talking about executable types under Windows. Now, you'll run across from time to time various what we call scripting languages or interpreted languages, things like Python and Ruby and Perl. And those aren't the types of executables we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about compiled programs, ones that go through a process of compiling and linking and generating basically binary as output. So Windows has a specific format for these types of programs, and the Windows program is called Portable Executable. You'll see it abbreviated as PE, and sometimes you'll see PE32 or PE64. Now, I've got a program here called PE Explorer that's actually going to open up one of these portable executable programs, and it's going to pull it apart into its component pieces. So I've got PE Explorer, and I've just opened up a random executable. In this case, I happen to open up the Python Windows executable because that's just the directory that we happen to be near, and there's an executable there. So I've got this PE Explorer opened up, and you'll see a lot of information here about this particular executable. Now, the first thing that we notice is that there's an entry point address. So part of the portable executable format is a place where the program enters. So we've got an entry point which says this is the first command, or the first instruction rather, that we're going to start on, and there's the address of it. Now, there are different sections to these programs, and you'll see in the second line under field name on the left-hand side, it says number of sections. There's actually 4 sections to this particular file, this particular executable. So you'll have things like the text section and the data section. So the text section is actually where the executable portion of the program lives. So that's where all of the instructions are. And these instructions would normally be designated if you were to have something like a disassembler. You would see them show up in assembly language. In reality, they are just instructions to the processor, and the processor sees a particular number and says, that's instruction move, for example, or jump, or something else. These instructions tell the processor what to actually do. And in conjunction with the executable portion, we've got the data section. So the data would be all of the different variables that the program operates on. And we'll also have things like a stack segment. So the stack would be all of the local variables. And you see on the right-hand side, we've actually got the size of the stack reserve. Now that number is in hexadecimal, but if you were to convert that to decimal, you would see the size that we had actually requested, or the program had requested, for its stack. So we've got all of these different sections in this portable executable program, or portable executable file. And with all of these come different addresses, which is how we have the ability to say the address of the entry point. Now, these addresses are not in position independent format. There is actually a preferred base address for all of these. So generally when the program runs, there's a preferred base address for the program, and then we can determine where we are in the program based on getting that particular base address. So again, there's all of these different portions here. And we've got, as I said, the address of the entry point, which is not only noted up above under the headers information, but it's also noted down below in this left-hand field. And then we've got the base of code, and there's the base address. And it says it prefers 1000 as its base address, and that's in hexadecimal again. And the base of data is 2000, again, that's in hexadecimal. And then there's the image base. So again, we've got this idea that there is a preferred base address for all of this program so that it can determine where it actually is rather than having to recompute everything every time the program runs. Now, I mentioned that these are for compiled programs, and Microsoft has actually taken this portable executable format and it's extended it to deal with the .NET suite of languages. And .NET actually uses a format that's not strictly executable in the sense that there are CPU instructions in the program. What .NET does is it uses an intermediate language or an interim language, and there's something of an interpreter that sits in between this pseudocode and the processor. So we don't actually have raw machine instructions in the executable. We have something that's a bit of a half step above the machine instructions. So this portable executable format has been extended to take into account the .NET suite of languages like C# and C++ and Visual Basic, and those are all .NET. So we had the old version of C++, and now we have C++.NET, and we have VB.NET. So anything that takes the new way of doing things with Microsoft with all of the .NET libraries, those executables still use this PE format, but it's an extended version of the PE format because it's still just a little bit different. So that's the primary, or really the only executable type that you're going to run across in Windows, and that's the portable executable format.